We're here at CPAC, just outside of Washington, D.C., where we caught up with the chairman of the American Conservative Union, Matt Schlapp. So my first question for you is about the issue of gun control. It's been talked about a lot here. Are Republicans, are you noticing having a change of heart at all on the issue?
I don't think they're having a change of heart. I just think they're trying to figure out where they are in terms of, should there be any fine-tuning to our regulations. I think almost everybody here is a very strong supporter of the Second Amendment. But, are the background checks being done perfectly? A long time ago, the NRA and a lot of gun rights groups started to advocate for a background check and an instant background check. And the problem is that you realize it's a very imperfect background check. And I think there's a lot of conservatives that say maybe we should find ways to make that so that it's the same for everybody.
Some senators have said in the aftermath of the Florida tragedy that 21 should be the age for purchasing an AR-15, for example. Is that something you would support?
I don't know. I'm willing to look at it. I don't know what the age requirements are for all kinds of different guns and firearms, but I would just say this. I have 5 girls, and if I had a daughter who was being stalked by somebody, she's 20 years old, living in an apartment by herself, if she had the appropriate training to use a firearm, I'm okay with her having that, especially if she's feeling like her safety is at stake. I think you got to remember, a lot of people own firearms because they're older and they worry about their security. They're single and they worry about their security. They might live in cities that have high crime rates. I mean, look at Chicago, look at Washington, D.C. These are cities where you can understand why people would want to have personal protection. Of course, those are the same cities where they don't allow them to own much of anything, which is kind of a big part of this as well. So I like the idea of people taking account of their personal safety.
And what about teachers being able to carry in the classroom? The president spent a lot of time in his speech on that. Do you agree with that?
Look, almost every state has passed concealed carry. Almost every state. This is something that's, the law of the land in most jurisdictions. But I wouldn't want any teacher to feel like they have to. I think it's a very personal decision. Some people just hate guns. They hate the idea of being near a gun, and they shouldn't have to be near a gun. But there are other people that are professionals that have gotten the certification, they've gotten the training, and they enjoy target shooting. I'm okay with those folks being armed, and I'll tell you one thing, I want to be able to drop my kids off at school and to know they're safe. I think everybody feels that way, and that's not the case now. Matter of fact, I think they're getting more unsafe instead of less safe. We ought to do something to change that.
And I know you got to run, but I wanted to ask you.
I don't run that well. I got to walk fast.
Yeah. Let me ask you about the Democrats, though, because they're calling for the assault weapons ban to come back. Do you think that's a good idea to bring that back?
I have to say, this is where they're just playing politics. The assault weapons ban went away when President Bush was president, and you didn't hear from any Democrats when it went away. They bring up issues like the minimum wage and gun control, I believe, when it's the optimal time to push politics. Barack Obama had big majorities in the House and the Senate. There was no bill to reiterate, no Obama bill, no Pelosi bill to reiterate the semi-automatic weapons ban. So it's interesting that it's always done when they're trying to put the Republicans on the defense. I actually think I shouldn't be talking politically about this. They shouldn't be talking politics about this. We just should look at these ideas and see what can get passed and see what's consistent with the Second Amendment and our philosophy. I do think the country will punish politicians that are not willing to listen and listen to these victims and listen to the problems in the background system, listen to the problems these communities are having, listen to the problems these schools are having. I think this is a time when we ought to all listen more.
Reporting at the National Harbor, I'm Nicholas Palissy.